to another episode of Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk. My name is Danette Johnson, your host, and joining me today is my special guest for our three-part series on Women's History Month, looking at empowering and inspiring women. Today we have Danette Justus visiting us.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
So Danette and I go way back to childhood on 16th and Nash in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Today, you'll see some of the art that is featured behind me. We have the pleasure of being able to film today at Greenwood Park Gallery, which is located in the heart of the city of Milwaukee, and its curator, Frederick Robinson Jr. So we are pleased to be able to announce that new collaboration and to be able to have an opportunity for you to look inside what he has to offer from an artist's perspective. And following along within that same frame of thinking with art, we're going to now have Danette introduce the book that she's going to do a little excerpt for us later in the program. So if you could share with the audience.
All right, I will be reading We Are Here. Our author is actually Tammy Charles, and our illustrator and Caldecott winner is Byron Collier. So this is actually the same author that wrote All Because You Matter, which is just an amazing book, and also a Caldecott winner as well.
Wonderful. So Danette, can you tell our audience a little bit about where Just Us in Books began and where you are today in 2025?
Well, Just Us in Books began during COVID. Our first day of school, we were virtual, and we were all just trying to figure out virtual learning because it was very new to both staff and students. And so on the first day of school, I usually go around to the classrooms and read a first day of school, welcome back to school book. But since we were not live, we were virtual, I made a recording on my phone and I uploaded it to the staff's Google Classroom. That way students had access to it. And one of the students put a little message under my reading and said, "Oh, you're such a good reader." And I was like, "Oh, thank you."
That's so cute.
And then another teacher reached out to me and said, "Well, what are you going to read next?" And so I was like, "Oh, okay, well." So the following week I picked another book, and it became a thing. Every week I was putting a new story on there, some activities. And Dr. Latish Reed, actually, who I went to Shorewood with, she had to talk with me, and she said, "You really need to put these somewhere," because I was not only doing them on the Google Classroom, I was putting them on Facebook so that parents and teachers could use them as well. After some reluctancy, I ended up starting a YouTube page, Just Us in Books. The name actually came from a former coworker, Dr. King. He came up with the play on my last name, Just Us and Books.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how it got started.
Wonderful, wonderful. As I did state in the beginning of taping today that we are in the heart of the gallery, so periodically there are going to be guests that are going to be coming in, and we would hope that you would be one that would look and seek out this place as well, because you may find something that would look well within your home or within your office or a gift for a child. So, Danette, can you just kind of go back into, you were saying that it was a message from one of your students that kind of gave like that inspiration. Do you do additional readings now, like just in-house, or do you bring other people in? Or I know that you're across like the state of Wisconsin doing things. Can you speak a little bit to that?
I currently have 200 readings on Just Us in Books, and I do put a new one up there every week. And it kind of expanded a little bit. A gentleman by the name of John Kearney saw what I was doing. He is one of the board members for the Milwaukee Public School Foundation.
Wonderful.
He liked what I was doing, and he offered me an opportunity to read at the Riverside Theater, and I was like, "Oh, really cool." And so I actually read Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters at the Riverside Theater. Theater and theater, it went well together with the book and the location. Then the kids got a chance to see the Riverside. And so he gave me another opportunity to read at the Northwestern Mutual building. And if you've ever been there, they have a view of the entire city at the top. And so after the reading, I included that footage in the video.
Wow.
And as I showed it to students, a lot of the students were like, "What is that? Where is that?" And they were looking at things like the lake, Summerfest. They were looking at Pfizer Forum. And where my school, Seaford Elementary, is located, we're not even less than a mile from Pfizer Forum. And the students are asking, where are these places? And so I thought, you know what, I need to go out into the community, go out into businesses, local landmarks, and our kids need to see what's out there in their own community, really less than a mile, 2 miles from their very own homes, and expose them to that. So that's kind of how going to various locations and connecting the literacy to it started. And so that's kind of where Just Us in Books grew. In 2020, I was honored to have won an Emmy Award for the content of Just Us in Books. And so there's been a lot of really cool things that have happened. Never would have thought Just Us in Books would be where it is today, for me just doing what I love, reading books and trying to expose kids to reading and ultimately have them fall in love with reading.
I love that. I love that. So, as I said earlier, Danette and I go way back to childhood, and one of my favorite quotes is, "It takes a village." And our village was formed prior to us even being born. Our family knew one another from 16th and Nash, and generations had grown up there, from our grandparents to our parents to then us. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to now come full circle to 2025 and to be able to have this conversation now and show where we are. And again, just going along with the theme of today's show, Women's History Month, and talking about empowerment and inspiring one another. And some of the things that you mentioned are totally inspiring when you think about how you were saying some of the children who are not far away, like within miles of the lake and Northwestern Mutual or Summerfest, and not having any concept of where those places are or what goes on there. So from there, I noticed within the research that one of our friends, James Causey, did a story on you, and he talked about the relationship between what you're doing and we're probably going to date ourselves right here, but with LeVar Burton and with Reading Rainbow.
Yes.
Can you speak to how people resonate with that from people who may be in our generation and now looking at what you're doing today?
That was one of the biggest compliments, to be called Milwaukee's own Reading Rainbow. Reading Rainbow and LeVar Burton are huge influences on me and what I'm trying to do. I grew up reading books, and I'll be 100% honest, a lot of our kids are on tablets, a lot of our kids are on phones, and so the goal is to, okay, we have YouTube. While you're playing games or looking at various things, let's take a look at a story, and hopefully you'll fall in love with that story and say, Mom, let's go to the bookstore. I love that author. I love that book. I want to get it. Or Mom, let's go to the public library, one of the probably most underutilized resources, Milwaukee Public Library, a wonderful place. So let's go there and put books in hand. I tell a lot of the parents, been an educator for 33 years, so I tell a lot of my parents and just friends, we have to model what we want to see from our kids. And if we constantly have a phone or a tablet in our hand and we're not modeling reading for the kids, then they're going to emulate that. Growing up on 16th and Nash, I remember there was always Essence, Ebony, and Jet on the dining room table or on the coffee table. A little weird, but you read the cereal box when you were eating your breakfast. There were magazines and newspapers in the bathroom. So there was reading around all the time, and that's just not what's normal now. So we have to find creative and innovative ways to get kids to fall in love with reading again.
I love that. I love that you brought that back because, as you mentioned, I recall, just like you said, being in the living room, and to the side of us, you would see a stand and the papers were there.
Yes.
Or, like you said, if you're in the bathroom, you knew that on the back of the toilet it was going to be, a Jet magazine or just, what have you. So it forced us to read, but then we also would see like the hip hop magazines. And I recall even back in my day going in and couldn't wait for like the latest issue of Upscale to come out so I can see what New Edition is doing or who's, somebody, what was another
the source
and what they were doing. And not only was it just because that was your favorite artist and you wanted to see like what they were doing in the music scene, but you read the articles.
Absolutely.
And never even questioned this is something that's helping me learn.
Mm-hmm.
It just became like natural. So I commend you. It is an innovative concept to be able to do this. Do you have anything up and coming that you would like to share with the audience? We've been fortunate to be able to be featured in Texas, in Michigan,
Oh,
in Arizona, and a number of other states. So the audience that that we'll be reaching is far and wide.
okay.
So are there some things that are coming up that you want to highlight on Milwaukee so folks know what we're doing here?
Well, it's important to know that these read alouds can be reached anywhere. And so, first thing you need to do is subscribe.
Okay.
And by subscribing, you'll have access to all 200 plus read alouds. I do put a new one on there every week. And then some are at various, like I said, various locations throughout Milwaukee. So, to give you a little bit of exposure to Milwaukee, also highlighting local businesses, I would definitely be doing one here at this beautiful location.
Wonderful.
I most recently have a collaboration with the Milwaukee Art Museum. I haven't been to the Milwaukee Art Museum in quite some time, and I had an opportunity to go this past Friday and just see how beautiful and wonderful it is. But what a great combo. Art and literacy goes hand in hand, and so I'm excited for that collaboration. And just continuing the weekly read alouds. I am always looking for new and exciting places to read. I kind of see it as a little mini commercial highlighting books and highlighting locations. So, if you have suggestions for me, let me know.
Please feel free to put that in the comments or to reach out to me at thepinktable.org. And also, if you'd like to shout out your website, so in case they want to reach you directly, they can do that as well.
All right, I am at Just Us and Books on YouTube. You can comment on the YouTube page as well, and then my information is also within that YouTube page. I'm working on that website though.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to take a short break so that we can bring you more content and we can get an opportunity to look into the book that Danette is going to share with us and do an excerpt from that. So thank you. The Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition stands up and speaks out about legislation, education, and collaboration. Since 1994, WBCC has served as our state's premier resource on breast cancer policy issues. We work to educate the public about breast cancer prevention and treatment. We educate legislators about breast cancer facts so they can make good policy decisions. We collaborate with like-minded breast cancer, women's health, and environmental organizations to eradicate breast cancer. Thank you for joining us. This is Dana Johnson with Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk, and we're back from commercial break with our special guest, Danette Justus. She is now going to take a moment to read from the book that she's going to share with us for today that we highlighted in the first part of this segment for Women's History Month. So, take it away.
All right. We are here. Our author is Tammy Charles, and our illustrator is Byron Collier. Here we go. The journey of who we are stretches beyond rivers, roads, mountains, high-fiving blue skies. We were cool like that from the beginning of time. Can't you see? We are seeds, you and me, roots thick with dreams and stars and possibilities. We turn numbers to seasons and patterns track moons in outer space. From brick and grit, we built this place. Big hands, small hands, powerful in every way. We are joy, igniting the world like stars and bright like trumpets blaring at midnight. You hear that? Skit, scat, caddywhack. It's the music of our past. It's our rhythm and our blues, but you can't choose just one. Our joy is the anthem of life, heard on monument steps, opera stages, stadiums filled with thousands of faces. It's in the spice of the aisles, the soul of our food, feeding, connecting us across miles. That joy, that wonder, a burst of sun rays laying the path for today and always. We are intercontinental, can't you see? With our strut and our style, trendsetters, go-getters, swagger that sweeps across the globe. We are multidimensional, oh so intellectual. One heart, we speak the language of books and streets, feet stomping concrete. Countless steps that set the world on fire as we sing and chant for all to remember our names. We are fearless, more than we know. When the world closed its doors and worry set in, there we were, putting on our capes, springing to action again. Why is that so? Because you and me, we have always been heroes. The same ones who sat to take a stand, the ones who ran so we could fly. So it's no surprise, dear child, we are all of these things and so much more. No matter what they say, because someday, when it's your turn to rule the world, people will be amazed and they will question the power of you. And when they do, you be sure to let them know you are brilliant, extraordinary, far beyond ordinary, the very best of who we are. The end.
It is a pleasure to be able to have a front row seat as we listen to Danette read for Just Us in Books, and just to kind of get an inside view of what a child may feel when they're actually listening to your books, or maybe the family, because they may get to the point where they're all listening together in anticipation for when the next book is coming out. With that being said, can you tell us, like, what's been one of your most favorite read alouds that you've done?
I've had a few. I am a Bucks fan, and so I had an opportunity to read on the floor of the Pfizer Forum right after the championship game, and so that definitely was a highlight. And then they allowed me to tour a little bit, so the kids got to see the locker room and stuff like that. So that was a highlight. American Family Field. Thank you to Cecilia Gore, who allowed that experience, reading about Hank Aaron, and got to tour a little bit of American Family Field as well. My nephew, Maceo Bracy, actually helps me with the production part of the videos, and so we did one at Palermo's where the book was about a pizza, and then they allowed us to make our own pizza, so that was just a fun one as well. So
nice. I love that, and I love that, like, you're keeping it in the family, and he gets an opportunity to be able to be behind the scenes and to learn as well, and to build his resume.
That's right.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the concepts? I know you and I had shared like a quick snippet of an interview in 2020 when we were talking about unsung heroes, and the country was going through, or the world rather, was going through a state where everything was shut down, and my stat team and I had decided that we wanted to be able to mention the unsung heroes because people weren't thinking about the teachers who were behind the scenes and doing their thing, the nurses and the medical staff and all the people, you know, within the hospitals and things of that nature. Can you tell us from the time where you were beginning the stage with Just Us in Books and reading via through Zoom to like now being able to have an opportunity to have someone who's reading like in the classroom or to go to some of these different places? Like, has that kind of changed for you, or is it still kind of same concept, or have you evolved from that over the years?
I am still recording just on my phone. I haven't gotten any big elaborate recording devices. How I edit and things like that, I've kind of upgraded some things. So, but everything is pretty much still the same. I am trying to figure out the next steps with Just Us in Books. My dream ultimately is to perhaps revive Reading Rainbow and make it my own. I've reached out to LeVar Burton. Who knows? One day that connection might happen. But I think how I fell in love with reading. My third grade teacher, she bought me the book Where the Sidewalk Ends, and that's where it started. Shel Silverstein. And watching Reading Rainbow, watching Sesame Street, just those PBS programs that had education at the forefront, but in such a fun and engaging way. And so ultimately, if I can do something like that to kind of bring a new generation to reading in a fun way, and bring it into 2025, that would definitely be a dream.
Wonderful. Have you had students say to you, I wish I could do that, or I really appreciated that one book that you read because that was my favorite and you must have known because you read it?
You know, I will say this, I have had that, but what I get most from my students are, can I be in a video? And so one of the readings on there is Pete the Cat, Wear My White Shoes. And that is actually my most viewed video. I am almost on 200,000 views for that particular video, but it was all the third, fourth, and fifth graders, and they had movements and they were excited, and it was just a fun video to create. So I think what I get most is students wanting to be in videos. You'll see a couple of them actually where students and myself are reading together. Nice. And you know, with parents' permission, of course, but them getting to see themselves on video reading is just such a joy and a highlight. And then hopefully taking them that step further to, you know, again, fall in love with books, but maybe have a career in something that they never even dreamed of.
Now, with Seaford, are they through sixth grade, or what is the?
Fifth grade, K3 through fifth grade.
So have you had any students, or are you coming up to that marker that have graduated, but our families are still reaching out saying that they still listen?
Well, I can kind of tell that a lot of those students who did that Pete the Cat, actually the fifth graders that I'm currently working with, they were on a video called, Seth Meyers is the author. The name of the book just escaped me, but I'm Not Scared, You're Scared. And they're actually in that video, and so they bring that up all the time. So I think it's really cool to actually have the kids in the video. They have been on me about creating another Pete the Cat kind of video with third, fourth, and fifth. So I gotta find the right book, because it has to be kind of a sing-along, a rhyming book that allows them to kind of really express themselves. But also content is very important too. A lot of people ask me about who are these read-alouds for, and I always tell them K3 through 12th grade. I teach a class at UWM during the summer, and I always started my class with my juniors and seniors with a read-aloud of a picture book. And I remember one day I forgot the book, and they were like, where's our story? We cannot begin class without our story. But people kind of forget that sometimes the vocabulary and the content within some of these picture books can be very profound. And so a good picture book is appropriate for anyone K3 through 12th grade.
Awesome.
and beyond.
Awesome. So you mentioned the relationship with the Milwaukee Bucks and the relationship with Cecilia Gore through the Brewers Foundation.
Mhm.
And as we are currently in the month of March, not only celebrating Women's History Month, but celebrating getting into the playoffs, hence the outfit of choice today for the Bucks, because it is a game tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks, and we are excited about what's going to happen with them. Were there some things within that, because I'm kind of trying to parallel the two, where you're saying like students may not have been familiar with some of the offices that were on the lakefront, like Northwestern Mutual and things of that nature, but they may have been more familiar with like the Milwaukee Bucks or Brewers. Did you see any correlations of students being more familiar with that concept when they saw that read aloud?
I did. Where Seaford is located, we were actually able to go up in our gym and watch the Pfizer grow. So as they were building the Pfizer Forum, we were watching it in its conception. And a lot of them, like I said, had never actually gone to the Pfizer. And so them being able to see it on the inside, but I got to see firsthand. We went on a field trip and we drove past the Pfizer Forum, and they were all like, "Oh my gosh, there's the Pfizer Forum, that's where the Bucks play." So they were able to make that connection from the video, the book, and actually seeing the actual Pfizer Forum and realizing, hey, this is just down the street from most of us. So
that is wonderful. That is wonderful. Are there some things that you think of as you begin to look through like your own personal library, or you get people saying, like how you were saying with the new collaboration with the Milwaukee Art Museum? Are there books that your collaborators would hope that you would read for them, or are you still able to freely choose the books that you want to read when you're in those spaces?
I have been able to freely choose. I tell people all the time, there is a children's book out there about any and everything. So I can usually find a book that connects well. But absolutely, if a business or a landmarks had a specific book that they wanted me to read, I'm very open to that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we'd like to thank you again, Danette, for joining us
Thank
here
you for
today.
having me.
It has been a pleasure to just kind of just be a look behind the scenes of some of the things that you've been able to accomplish with this coming up on year 5.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you're thinking of as far as like for celebrating that milestone?
Oh, wow. I might have to put some thought into that. I hadn't thought about it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you all again for joining us for Pink Perspectives powered by the Pink Table Talk. Once again, my name is Danette Johnson. I'm your host, and this is Danette Justus joining us. Is there any little glimmer of hope that you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap today?
Honestly, just subscribe to Just Us and books.